This video is about your moon phase, and we will go over the moon phase when Lindsay and I sit together, but I'm going to use my phone to show you some charts. So this is the line of the horizon based on when you were born, and this is where your ascendant is in the first house. This person was born at 1:34 p.m., so this is considered a day chart. And what you can see is the sun, this is the sun, is above the horizon, and so is the moon. Okay, so a day chart means that the sun is somewhere up here from the 7th house through the 12th house. That's a day chart. And what that means is this person thinks with their mind and understands with their mind, because the main luminary is in the sky, a day chart. Now I'm going to show you, and this is a man's chart, by the way. Now, many of the charts I have are women's charts, and they often are night charts, okay, because they feel with their bodies. And a night chart means that here's the horizon. The sun is below the horizon. So this person was born in Mexico at 11:06 p.m. The sun was below the horizon. Okay, so that's the difference between a day chart and a night chart, is that in a day chart the sun is somewhere up here, and a night chart the sun is somewhere down here. Okay, now you can just understand this is actually a married couple. The man thinks with his mind, he has a day chart. The woman feels with her body, she has a night chart. She understands, she empathizes, she can only really get the download through her physical body. Whereas the man, her husband, who has the day chart and his sun is in Gemini, he can only figure this out with his mind, and it will not make sense to him if it does not make sense in his Gemini mind. So when you're working with a couple and when you're figuring out your own life, you will start to realize that people born at night can only understand it if they feel it in their body. Now I'm going to teach you, and this is actually why I asked you to get Demetra's book, even though this book was first published in 1987 and a lot of planets have been found since then. And even I'm sure Demetra taught me different things than what's in this book. She taught me the true rulers of, for instance, Aquarius is Saturn, even though in this book she was trying to go along with what Kepler University and some different more, universities of astrology wanted, which was the modern approach of having Uranus be the ruler of Aquarius. But when she taught me by 2013, she had come away from a lot of what she had written in this book, including the intercepted houses and some other things that she was trying to do this for when she was teaching at university. But what I really love about Demetra's book is the lunation cycle pages. Okay, so the lunation cycle pages are very important because your moon sign has an indication by sign, by house, but also by how many degrees away it is from the sun. Because the ancients said that we had different incarnations based on the phase of the moon. So we were either in the first phase of an incarnation, the second, the third, the fourth, the full moon, meaning like your 5th lifetime, your 6th lifetime, your 7th lifetime on working on a particular theme. And then in the 8th lifetime, you would be distilling everything that you learned from all these other lifetimes and preparing the soil for a new seed to grow in a new moon phase. Okay, that's the way the ancients saw that. So when you're studying the moon, yes, we know that it's going to make aspects, And this person's in Hawaii right now and really loves Hawaii, and I met her in Hawaii, so I drew in Haumea, because there are many aspects that the moon can make. Okay, this would also be a trine, except that this is a calculation of the sun and the moon and ascendant, so that would not be as important to me as some information about Hawaii for her. Okay, so this is how, in my world, yes, this would also be a sextile, but I didn't necessarily draw that in, because what I really will focus on when I'm talking to her is about her gifts with Hawaii and the goddess Haumea. So that's the main line that I drew in. Otherwise, the moon can have a lot of aspects because it has a very wide orb. So it would also sextile Athena. It would also trine this part of fortune, but part of fortune is a calculation, so I'm not so worried about that trine line. Okay, so let's get back to this being a night chart, and how do I figure out the phase that this person is in? So what I do first of all is I see where the sun is at 12 degrees. I know there's 30 degrees in each house. So I actually take 2959 away from 12 and get 1759. And then I know there's 30 degrees in Sagittarius, and then she has another 0 to 26 degrees to her moon. So I go 1759 plus 30 degrees for Sagittarius plus 26 to the actual moon. I get 7359 degrees ahead, okay, ahead of the sun. This is moving ahead of the sun. So what that is the waxing, meaning it's building, crescent moon. And the waxing crescent moon then has a definition according to Demetra up here. Okay, the crescent moon, the waxing crescent moon is struggling away from inertia and dependencies of past conditions and mobilizing resources to assert self in a forward direction. So this person is gonna really need to get moving, okay? And this is the phase where she's gotta mobilize, get everything moving in a direction, because this would be considered her second lifetime in an incarnation cycle where she was trying to accomplish something. And I know this woman wants to move to Hawaii like crazy, so what is she trying to accomplish? Some relationship with Haumea, goddess of Hawaii. And I just know that, so intuitively I put that in. Now let's look at another chart. This is 11:10 p.m., so we know this is a night chart. This is a woman also, and she is in a night phase of feeling with her body, knowing through feeling. Now look at her chart. Here's the moon. Here's the horizon. The sun right here is below the horizon, and it's making a perfect opposition to the moon, the full light of awareness. And opposition is the full light of awareness. And that is the full moon, okay? And in order to figure that out, I did the calculations anyways, okay? So I did the calculations all through the houses and came up with 173.8. And if you go up to Demetra's chart, basically anything between 135 and 180 is the full moon. Okay, and this is 173.8. That's a full moon. So illumination, infusing meaning and content into life, searching for the ideal. If you think about this in a gardening way, what it is, for instance, is the new moon is when you plant the seed. The crescent moon is when this seed first has to bust out of the little hard shell and get going and move away from dependencies of the past. That's the crescent moon. Then the first quarter moon would be okay, the first little green piece comes up and takes action and takes the sun and tears down any old structures and builds itself into a new life form. Then the gibbous moon is a perfecting phase when this little seed comes up and becomes a green plant with, its first leaves, so you can identify it as basil, all right? And then the full moon phase, like this person has, would be the full illumination of it has plenty of leaves, it's infusing meaning and content into the life, searching for the ideal. It's a big, beautiful, fragrant basil plant that you can clip the leaves off, okay? And then people who have then the disseminating moon, the distribution, what I see that is, and Demetra has her terms for it, and I will give you my terms for it when we're working with Lindsay. But the distribution is like, okay, you have all the leaves, you're a full big basil plant, and then you start to create seeds and throw those seeds, okay, and work very hard to distribute the seeds. And then people who have the last quarter moon, there's a crisis in consciousness to turn away from old accomplishments. Okay, the interesting thing there is you're throwing down the seeds to become something brand new. You're working really hard at like turning away from that basil plant. That would be a 7th lifetime. And then people with balsamic phase moon, which I have plenty of balsamic phase moon persons where they're completing a complete cycle of karma. And I don't really want to call it karma anymore, but they've just had all of these other lifetimes toward that one goal of being a basil plant, okay, or whatever the goal was. And then there's a transformation and a commitment to the future. This is the phase that I call like making the manure ready for new planting. Like just now the seed is deep in the dirt and you're in this dark phase of the moon called the balsamic phase. It's when the moon is completely dark and you're distilling everything that you were in all these other lifetimes to emerge again. I'm going to show you my chart. So I have a night chart also because I was born at 3:28 in December. And here's my sun. It's below the horizon. Here's my moon. So my sun and my moon are very close. And this is just 13 degrees. So there's 12 to the 30 here. And then this is 1 and 13. 113. It's actually 1313 is my number. Well, that's pretty interesting. 1313. So I'm within the 0 to 45 ahead of the sun, which is called the new moon phase. Initiating a new cycle, projection of the personality, plunging into new experiences in spontaneous and instinctive ways. And I think that the new moon really explains my life very well because now it's 1313 minutes that I've been talking. It explains my life really well because I'm plunging into this astrology. I'm making it all brand new. I'm taking what Demetra had like totally realized from the ancients, from her translations of the Greek texts, and then we're taking it into this multi-dimensional new earth phase, and that is my beginning new moon phase. Here's a chart that's a night chart that is a man, okay, 4:04 a.m. and this man is a chiropractor. Okay, he has a very interesting chart. For me, he has 2 grand trines. One of the grand trines is Ceres, who is like the nurturer, and he is a great nurturer as a chiropractor. He has a midheaven at 11:11, which I think is interesting. And his moon phase, let's find his sun and his moon. His sun is here in the first house, but here's the horizon. So at 4:04 a.m., on July 15th, the sun was just about to rise. Okay, so it's here on the horizon. His moon is here. Okay, and this means it's behind the sun. This is behind the sun. Whereas if the moon was over here, it would be ahead of the sun. That's how you figure that out. Here's the horizon. Here's the sun. The moon is behind the sun. So I have to count. Okay, so 731. Interesting, his is exactly conjunct Sedna. Ooh, can't wait to do this chart. So here's 2228 in this calculation, because I'm taking 2959 away from 731, which is the degree of his sun. Then I'm adding a full 30 degrees for Gemini, and then I'm adding 2231, which are the degrees until his sun, and I get 7459, which is the last quarter reorientation, okay? So the last quarter right here is what we're talking about. There's a crisis in consciousness and a reorientation. Now, what's interesting in this crisis in consciousness and turning away from old accomplishments and following new inspirations, difficulty and externalizing until the complete change occurs, is that he's a chiropractor and his parents were chiropractors, and he has the two malefics conjunct also with Pluto in the house of home. Now, he's very close to his parents. See, his Pluto is at Arcturus. His north node is at Sirius. I'm pretty sure he's Syrian, but also Arcturian. But he's turning away from some family accomplishments where his father was a chiropractor too. I'm really interested to see if he continues to be a chiropractor because of this moon phase. The moon phase is a reorientation. And it's conjunct Sedna, which is some kind of severing and return to galactic consciousness. His north node is in his first house at Sirius, star Sirius. I'm wondering if he's going to continue to be a chiropractor. Some absolutely brand new reorientation is going to happen in his life, and he starts to learn about some other healing modality. Okay, so there's that chart. Oh gosh, I have a lot of charts. You can see how I function on a day-to-day basis. Here's a day chart. Why? Because the sun is above the horizon, and look, the moon is above the horizon too. This is someone who was born midday at 12:38 p.m. So the sun is above the horizon, and the moon is above the horizon. And August, they were both above the horizon. So this man's a thinker. Let me tell you, I already did his chart. He is thinking, and his brain is working nonstop. Because he has a Scorpio ascendant, he's been kind of secretive about like what his innermost thoughts are. And when I was talking to him, I was just able to meet on his level of, boy, is he ever a day chart of thinking with his mind and watching Ancient Aliens and figuring everything out. He doesn't feel there's Arcturians. He studies, Ancient Aliens and thinks with his mind about whether there's Arcturians. Here's his partner. His partner has a night chart, okay? She's born at 12:48 a.m., which means right after midnight. So her sun and her moon are below the horizon. So while he's thinking in a day chart, she's feeling in a night chart. And her chart is such that we have 2959 take away 1927 is 1032 plus 30 plus 1750. The moon is behind the sun, okay? So we can figure out how to do these charts with these calculations that Demetra is giving us. The other thing that you can do, although this site does not work all the time, is astrocal.co.uk. So Claude used it a couple of times today, and a couple of times it gave us like the right moon phase. And what's interesting is a couple of times it gave us the wrong moon phase, and actually gave us that the moon was in a different sign than what I had prepared in the chart. So don't always trust these things. This is why Demetra made this book and we're doing this course, so that you can figure out your own moon phase and then kind of figure out like what you're working on in this lifetime. Are you a new moon? Are you a gibbous moon? Are you a disseminating moon? And it'll be very interesting to see what you all are. So there is more to that, because we know the aspects to the moon are many, and there's also a progressed lunation cycle that you can do to see. It's kind of like a solar return, like your lunation cycle is always moving also. And so you might have been born a new moon, but by lunar progressed moon, you might be in like a last quarter or even a distillation phase of the balsamic moon, which is a waning moon phase just about when it's dark. Okay, my friends, so this is my first attempt at just showing you how to make these calculations, and then Lindsay and I will get more into what those mean and the study of lunation cycles in our lessons this week. Thank you.